Wednesday the 9th of January 2025. It's myself, Jack Cudworth, and with business partner and legend himself, Dave Hughes. Me and Dave have been on a journey for a little while with a new business called Pinnacle, and today we're going to take some time to introduce ourselves formally to everyone and also give a little bit of information about who we are and where we've come from. So firstly, going to start with saying good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Jack.
So Dave, the first kind of question I've got for you today is, who is the legend of Dave Hughes?
Thanks for the question. I'll endeavour and do my very best to answer that as best possible. First and foremost, just want to say how thrilled I am to be here today alongside yourself, as partners, as friends, as colleagues, to share a bit about Pinnacle Centre of Excellence and our journey with everyone who might be interested to learn more about us individually and us collectively. So that's an amazing opportunity. A little bit about me. I'm first and foremost a long-suffering football fan, being a Coventry and Liverpool supporter over many years. I know Liverpool have had a modicum of success recently, but there was a time in the wilderness when it wasn't much fun. And then there are the promises of lots from Coventry and not always the delivery. So from a sporting point of view, probably more lows than there were highs, but we're getting there slowly but surely on both fronts, I think. I've worked in health and social care for 17, 18 years. Probably not a vocation or a sector that back at the start I was sort of thinking about coming towards or being involved with, and one that I found myself working in and interested to learn more about, which was wonderful opportunity when that arose, and something that I think for me personally was very close to my heart in terms of trying to help other people and make a difference in their lives, which was meaningful. And I think one of the things for me over that journey, which has had some great experiences, some challenging experiences, but collectively all of those things have helped me, I think, frame those things into a way that is helpful for others, so that when I look back at my starting point in helping services or social care or early help, I think we've come so far on our journey of learning and development and reflection that our colleagues who are now coming to the vocation benefit from lots of people's voices like yourself and hopefully myself, who can share with them our experiences, our journeys, our learnings, our reflections, and hopefully that helps them have a better starting point in their own journeys, and hopefully we can support them as they move through those journeys, and we can help them with their own development. We can help them learn from the things that we've done well and perhaps things we haven't done well. So really looking forward to it. Really super excited and super thrilled to be part of Pinnacle, to be alongside yourself, and to already be contributing and making a difference to the lives of children, young people through our partners and stakeholders. Is that right?
No, I think that's brilliant. And again, I think looking at your journey, obviously we worked together. I'm going to say I was about 22 at the time when we were in Rainsbrook Secure Training Centre, which, depending on how you want to word it, some people would say a young offenders prison or YOI. However, the terminology that we like to use is Secure Training Centre, because we had some quite young children in there. Looking at that journey from obviously leaving school to then obviously now being an owner of several businesses, not just one. Just talk to me a little bit about that journey in the sense of like progression of where it's gone.
Yeah, sure. And like I say, it's looking back now when you say that, I'm sort of thinking in my own mind about the time when we first worked together many years ago, and in some ways it seems 5 minutes, in some ways it reminds me of how long ago it was. But yeah, I think one of the things that I've always been grateful for in my journey is that at the early stages of that journey I had the opportunity to work directly with children, young people, with families, and that work was and is and has been and should be relative to building relationships, being consistent, being honest about who you are, being authentic about who you are, and being able to ensure that whilst there are boundaries in those relationships, that we bring the best version of ourselves to the task. And that was something that I had the privilege of learning. I think that stood me in good stead for future learning and development. And from those roles, I was able to take that learning into supporting others to develop as practitioners, so supervisory roles or management roles. And was given the opportunity by a variety of different organisations, whether it's public sector, private sector, third sector, to take on more supervisory, leadership roles, senior roles, and subsequently business ownership opportunities came from that. So for me, I think my journey has been one that I've been really grateful for, but I think I'm more grateful for the starting point. I think without that real sort of learning and being immersed in what the task of helping is, I don't think I would have been able to take some of the steps I took latterly in different roles and different organisations, and I don't think I would have been able to make the contribution that I've enjoyed making.
And I think while you're talking about that, and obviously we know each other well, and I have seen quite a lot of your journey in different ways. It's obviously difficult being a family man, which I know you are, to navigate all that. What's life like for Dave Hughes out of work? Because obviously I can imagine it's quite supportive to be able to get where you are now.
Yeah, I've been really, really lucky and really grateful to have some great people around me that help me be the better version of myself more often than not. I think without their understanding, their support, their awareness of what's important to me and what's important for me, I think working for long periods of time in helping services would have been more difficult. Because, as we both know, we've worked in organisations and environments where the helping task isn't just for short periods of time, or isn't necessarily within what we call core business hours of 9 to 5. It can be evenings, weekends, bank holidays, Christmas Day, birthdays, all different sorts of commitments, waking nights, sleeping. So I think anybody who is in a helping vocation, it's obviously a very special person, but I think that those people are enabled and empowered to do that through having the right people around them, having the right environments, having the right relationships and the right support. And I've been very lucky that I've found a group of people in my life that have understood the things that are important to me, and they've supported me to be able to do that. So I'm very grateful to my family, to my friends, to my partners who have empowered me to do that, and it's a commitment for them as well as it is from us.
Yeah, and I think, and again, just through looking from the outside in to your journey, I can see that there's been the ups, there's been the downs, and and in fact we trained one of your teams last week, didn't we?
Yeah, fantastic day.
Looking at kind of them, that support network around us, the ones that kind of put us in our thinking part of our brain, which helps when things do get tough, rather than us having to struggle and wade through everything, can be really, really tricky. And again, obviously I know the people around you reasonably well, and it's nice to see that support is there, because I think that could make or break us, because our industry is tough. So I completely get that. Just looking at our journey now, so just for kind of anyone that doesn't know, that's not following us on socials at the minute, can you give us an explanation on what Pinnacle Centre of Excellence is, what it does?
Yeah, absolutely. So Pinnacle Centre of Excellence is an organisation that Jack and I co-founded in 2024. The reason we did that is because we strongly felt, first and foremost, that individually and together we had a lot to offer our vocation in terms of our own experiences, our own learnings, our own reflections, and the strengths we had, and we wanted to be able to come together and give that back to our vocation. Anything worth doing is probably worth doing together, and when you're doing things on your own, as an individual service or an individual provider, which is a fantastic thing to do, by the way, and a great thing to do, but if you can find someone to partner with, makes it all the better. Pinnacle Centre of Excellence came from an idea of, what if we could provide and offer all of our partners and services that work with us the opportunity to go to one place and to explore solutions to their learning needs, their training needs, their development needs, responses to things that might get in the way, or bumps in the road that happen in the journey, and they would have access to a group of recognised industry leaders, industry experts, who could respond to their needs and add value to their organisations and their experiences, and ultimately enable and empower the children and young people they were helping. So we believe that coming together as an organisation and bringing in those like-minded partners into a centre of excellence enables us to not only be a training provider, it enables us to be a learning partner, it enables us to be a developmental partner, it enables us to be a solution-focused partner. And we believe that all of those attributes are helpful and valuable to organisations that we work with. And that sort of founding vision was what resulted in Pinnacle Centre of Excellence being formed and founded. And we've been really, really fortunate that we've got some great industry recognised partners who have signed up to the Centre of Excellence and trusted Jack and I in our vision to become partners with us and to represent us as a Centre of Excellence. And we're super thrilled about that, because that in itself is a real vote of confidence, and it helps us understand that thinking and that approach is the right track to be on, and we're looking forward to seeing how that develops over the coming years.
I think, just on that answer, Dave, I think from the perspective, my side, I have recognised, just even when you're talking about it, between us, we've got this network of people that and this is very difficult again in our industry, we don't see it as a threat. We want to embrace, we want to turn around and say, you are amazing, come and align with us.
Absolutely.
Because if we, in again, this is going back to the vision that we spoke about when we first started out, it's that if we can bring the very, very best people together in our industry, think about the outcomes for children. And when we look back at your 18 years in this sector, and obviously mine's not far off that realistically now, I think it's that core, that there's some great things with myself and you that I've recognised for Pinnacle, and again we speak about them often. We've got so many core values aligned, but so many different strengths. And again, I think one of the core values that we've got is authenticity, and I think with that it draws the right people into what we're doing. And again, they don't look at us as a threat, we don't see them as a threat. It's like we all want the same thing here. And again, looking at some of the partners we've already got, obviously you've known Murray, Murray Kemp for quite a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, since we were probably knee high. Murray and I used to, very early on in our childhood, we used to live a couple of doors down from each other. And then obviously, as families do that, they move in different places, and then I met Murray again in later life when we went to work at Rainsborough. Just on that, you did say you were 22 when you worked there and said you've nearly got 18 years experience. I'm just doing the math in my head just to figure that bit out.
But to be nearly 40
I don't know, it's good for you, mate, not good for me. So I sort of bumped back into Murray when we went to work at Rainsborough, and at the time Murray was a senior leader in that organisation. So that was obviously interesting, and really positive reconnection. And then since that time, Murray and I have always stayed in touch. And obviously Murray's journey has brought him into the training, the learning, the development vocation. And given his experience and his dedication, he's really contributing, and people are really grateful for his contribution. So again, having the people who share those types of values, having people who are really honest about who they are, about what's important to them and for them, that's massively beneficial to us. Because I think one of the things that you and I share, from my perspective, is that real authenticity, that we're okay with being vulnerable. We're okay with not getting it right all the time and not having all the answers, but being responsible and accountable to think about those gaps in our knowledge or our skill, our experience, and take action to try and improve them. And I think that in any vocation, certainly in a helping vocation, that's a really important trait to have, because what we do is relationships.
Absolutely.
And we invest in relationships, and we build relationships, and we sustain relationships by nurturing them. And those things are about being not just the best versions of ourselves, that's important, but making sure that everyone that we spend time with, everyone that we meet and work with, feels that we've enriched not just their organisations, but their own selves and their own lives, that the time with us or time around us, whilst it might be funny and jovial on occasions, and sometimes we might spend hours just having a bit of a laugh and a joke with people, and then doing a little bit of work, but we hope that people's time with us is time that they go away from thinking that's been really beneficial to me, it's really helped me, whether it's professionally or personally or whatever. So all of those things are hugely important, and Murray, as an example, is someone who really embodies all of those values.
So Murray is going to be taking over kind of our, more from a health and safety perspective, that direction, isn't it? And then I'll give a little bit of an overview on Dr. Liz. Dr. Liz, I have another business with called Connect to the Future, and I've been working with Dr. Liz now and partnering with Dr. Liz now for 2 years. Phenomenal lady.
Yeah.
Dave, you know her well now. Just an absolute pleasure to be around. Dr. Liz will be supporting us with kind of the therapeutic journey for staff in any kind of training. Myself and Dr. Liz have the model of care, so again that will be something companies can buy from us. But when we talk about people that hold our values and share our values, again aligning with Murray and Dr. Liz, straight away for me separates us from other services that are out there. I just think we've got people that are trailblazers in what they do. They're fantastic. From obviously training some of your team with Dr. Liz, with Aspire and Thrive, and then also the work and the time that I spend with her, she just blows my mind. So we're definitely going to get her on the podcast. We'll see if Marie will come on as well. And also, just so we're looking at the kind of health and safety stuff. We're looking at the therapeutic stuff. Now, when we look at physical intervention, we've also partnered with Price. Can you give us a little bit of? We need to get that right for Mike. It's Price Training.
Price Training, not just Price.
Can you give us a bit of information, because you've worked with Mike in the past, haven't you? And he's a real good guy. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, someone we hold in really high regard. Someone who is a very genuine person, very kind person, but also someone who's very dedicated and applies themselves and their values and their vision really, really well, and has done for a long time. So our partnership with Price Training is one where Jack and I will be trained in an element of Price Training, and we'll be able to go out and support organisations to access that training through Price Training. And then in the fullness of time, it might be that some of our colleagues also access that training, and then there's wider capacity to support organisations and settings. And Price Training for me are an organisation that not only share our values but are really dedicated to making a positive difference in the lives of children and young people. They're continually reviewing practice, they've got really good governance, compliance, quality assurance in place. They're constantly looking at research, they're constantly keeping under review all of their processes and procedures. They've got really good external partners whether it's professionally, whether it's in local or central government, or different provisions up and down the country, and some really exciting new provisions that they're partnering with. And I think that their appetite for safety, for welfare, for quality, for best practice is something that is really important to us at Pinnacle, because they're the values that we share. And again, partnering with organisations like Price Training, working closely with Mike, helps us in our development, in our journey. It helps us know that there are people with us, alongside us and around us who can not only add value to what we're doing, but can also assist us with our continual reflection and thinking. So it's a really exciting partnership, one that will be sort of rolling out in 2025. We're just sort of making the arrangements to get trained. And again, working with Price Training and being partnered with those guys and being trained in their model will help our development and our learnings, and we'll be able to again feed that back into what we do with all of the wonderful organisations that we get the privilege to work with.
No, and I absolutely agree. And again, Price are one of the leaders. Price Training are one of the leaders in that. And I think when we look at Marie, Dr. Liz, Price, yourself, I'm going to add me in there somewhere. However, I just think when you look at them 5 core businesses that as Pinnacle we've managed to bring together, and that's just a start.
Absolutely. This is the start of our journey, and just listening to you talk about yourself and Dr. Liz, although Dr. Liz will sort of say to you and I, just call me Liz, and it's hard. I'm always sort of going, Liz, Dr. Liz.
Caught in the middle.
Yeah, so that's a work in progress, right? That's something that will develop over time. I just don't feel right not calling her Dr. Liz. Feels like I'm being disingenuous. I'm sure she would, if she were here now, she'd laugh and shake her head and say don't be daft. But it feels a little bit that way because she's a learned academic person, right?
Yeah,
so you have to absolutely respect that and acknowledge that. But I think when you look at those people, those individuals, those organisations, those values, those wonderful journeys they've been on individually and in their own provisions, the contribution they've made to our vocation, being partnered with people and organisations of that ilk is wonderful for us. And I think that will enable us to engage other like-minded individuals and organisations moving forward. So I think people will look at that group, they'll look at the experience and the contribution within it, and we hope that they'll want to also share in that and be a part of that Centre of Excellence. And that's an interesting, exciting thing. So hopefully more partners, hopefully more learning, hopefully more benefit.
Yeah, and looking forward, I think we, with Pinnacle, the plan, because again, this is when anyone that's set up a business understands this, what I'm about to say now. What you set out to do to what it turns into are two completely different things. Sure. I could talk about 4 or 5 different things me and you have got up our sleeve at the minute that I don't want to tell everyone what we're doing just yet. But
top secret. We will share shortly. Not on this podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe podcast 3 or 4.
Yeah, maybe 10 actually. Yeah. But I think it's just so exciting, and for me, it just picking up the phone and just speaking. It's like when we speak to services and staff that care about children, no matter their role.
Yeah.
it's just empowering, it's encouraging, and I'm a big believer, Dave, you know me a lot now for a lot of the training that I've done. I'm a big believer in our surroundings, our environment, what's around us, putting ourselves in better places, whether I'm just going to pick up my laptop and go to work or take myself to somewhere I can feel inspired. And again, me and Dr. Liz do a lot of work on environment, on energy. We always say, have you ever walked into that room and people are not facing you, but you know they've been arguing? I think that energy that we create that surrounds us, and again, it's like we're drawing people in that share them values and vision, and I love that. And like I say, the journey for that is only just getting started. And again, we haven't gone on socials much yet or anything like that, have we? And we've got a nice bit of growth.
Absolutely, you know, there's, you know, we do have, you know, do follow us on LinkedIn, do follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
We are sort of developing our socials, and hopefully we'll be more visible on those. But again, you know, at this stage of our journey, it's been massively positive that although we haven't, I don't know if advertise is the right thing, or market ourselves, or start to share a little bit about ourselves and each other, but we've already found quite a number of organisations that have been really interested to learn about Pinnacle Centre of Excellence, to learn about Jack, to learn about Dave, and to explore our offer. And they've become, you know, partners and stakeholders in our service, and we're really pleased to be able to work with those guys, and hopefully, you know, from the consistency and the energy, the enthusiasm, the quality that we bring to all of our delivery services with those organisations and with organisations that we get to meet, hopefully that will be our calling card. People will know that if Jack or Dave, or Jack and Dave together, or anyone that represents Pinnacle Centre of Excellence comes to provide a service, or a learning opportunity, a training opportunity, that it will be really high quality, it will be really beneficial, it will be really honest and really realistic, and we hope that from that people will take away all of the value and benefit. So that is really exciting, really interesting, and I think for me, I sometimes think, you know, what brought me towards Pinnacle as an organisation, and I know we've talked a little bit about our journey, but I think it's really important to mention that for me, you know, relationships are really important, that they're really critical. You know, boundaries are important, boundaries are critical in relationships, but I think one of the things that drew me towards Pinnacle was our relationship.
Yeah.
Was not only your passion, Jack, and your authenticity, but your empathy and care for others, and the way that you always are thoughtful and curious to sort of take the listening and the learning, and then maybe offer it back in a different way that's useful and helpful. And I think that commitment to each other, that commitment to our families, that kindness, that honesty, that integrity and determination, those are the things that I think brought me towards Pinnacle, and you know, are some of the things that nurture me in our partnership and our relationship. And I think that because what we're doing is founded on those things,
yeah,
and yes, commercially of course, but it's those things first and commercially second. I think those are the things that are really important to me and that I really value, and I think that allows us then to talk to all of our partners about that authenticity, about that vulnerability, about that honesty, because that's how we live our values.
Yeah.
And the Pinnacle Centre of Excellence is founded on those really important attributes, and you and I both value those individually, we value them collectively, and for me, what's drawn me into Pinnacle Centre of Excellence and our relationship and partnership is those really key things that are really evident in who you are and what you're about and what you stand for. And I think that's hugely important in any business, because our principles and our values need to be really consistent and shine through. So that's kind of, I suppose, another anecdote from me is towards why I am where I am now, and why we're going to go forward with what is a really great opportunity.
I appreciate that, Dave, so thank you. And there's a couple of things that I want to say on that. Firstly, in this covers the authenticity from our partners' perspective, in the sense of one thing that we've said to all our partners is, just because you're a partner of us and training under the Pinnacle Centre of Excellence umbrella, we don't want you to change your training. No. We don't want you, we're not saying use our branding, use it. That's why we have brought those people on this journey with us, and why they've allowed us to be on their journey, for me, is that authenticity, that honesty, that integrity, and that you're not coming to work for us, you're working with us and we're working with you. And I think that's so important, because it goes back to this thing about security, and it goes back to, and again me, and again when you look at trust and stuff like that, I think it's when you own a business, it's very difficult. It's like a relationship in your own personal life. It's not always easy to trust. It can be tricky, and there are things that you have to navigate, but I think from energy, from people's core values, and I'd like to think out of qualities, they're things that I like to feel that I've got a good spin on with people, and I think you've managed me in the past.
Yeah.
We've worked alongside each other in the past at different organisations, and again, I didn't like you then, I don't like you now. No, on a more serious note, on a more genuine note, you know what I'm like, mate, I can't go fully serious. No, but I think for me, what you've just said of my values are exactly what I would say about you. And I think this is sometimes probably, and we have these open conversations where we look at our strengths, we're honest about our weaknesses, and it's what we're going to touch upon for us both in a minute anyway. But I your family come first.
Yeah, absolutely.
My family come first.
Yeah.
What we're creating here, I believe, comes from the goodness of our hearts, our integrity. It's a business. It's going to generate money. That's what businesses do. But I think in our industry, to be successful, and what the journey that we're going to go on and bringing partners in, that authenticity is what is going to absolutely tie it in. I think, and I've said this to you a few times, I think if I asked the people that know you, what would you say about Dave Hughes, they'd be like honest, integral, trustworthy, unbelievable knowledge, family man. Like, these are all core values not everyone has.
Yeah.
And I think when you meet people like that, you align with them where you can. And that goes for when we go and meet Dr. Liz, when we meet Mike, when we meet Murray, and all the other partners that we're going to bring in. I think if we're quite good at understanding people, so I'd like to think that if we meet someone and feel that they're not aligned with where we're going or what we want to do from a value base, it's a no.
Yeah. Because
we can't move away from this. And when we look at the bigger organisations we've worked with in the past, I often find that that's one of the biggest issues, is maybe they get brought out, or maybe they grow at a rate that they lose the ethos and they lose that core value of why the business was created. And it's understandable with the way companies grow. However, I think with me and you, I'd like to think that's never going to be an issue, because I'd like to think we'd pull or rein the other one in and reflect and go, no, we need to go back to our core.
Absolutely. And I think that organic growth, acquisitional growth, business development, they're really important opportunities that all businesses should be alive to. But I absolutely hear what you say, Jack. I think you're right in so much as that, identity is really important, culture is really important. And when people talk about organisations, it's how people feel about them, and not always necessarily what people say about them. And how how organisations make you think and feel is a really important thing. And I think that for us, our identity individually and collectively, our values, our culture, are at the core of us. Like you say, we do want to make a positive contribution. We do want to be successful, of course we do. But that comes from a place of honesty, it comes from a place of compassion, it comes from a place of kindness. And sometimes, of course, within businesses, within commercial arrangements, you can be all those things, but there is a task that needs doing. But I think for us, we would always want to approach that task and with those values prevalent in how we do it, before, during and after. We always want those values and attributes to be prevalent in our communications, in our engagement, in our working together with people. And ultimately, for us, I know we share the same sentiment, is that yes, we want people to feel that the Pinnacle Centre of Excellence is a positive partner in their organisation, but we also want them to feel that more than that, more than the task, the relationships and the values and the principles are enabling and enhancing for them. And I think that's a huge part of business, is that that there are always highs and lows, but if you can stay consistent, if you can be honest, if you can be you, then there's a lot to be said for that.
And I think this is another thing that me and you do quite badly, is when we have to meet and we have a time scale.
Yeah, we go way off it.
We end up, don't we? So again, the questions that we've got and that we wanted to look at today, I don't think we're going to get through them all. No. However, I think this is people. I think from an outsider looking in, this is me and you, isn't it? Like,
absolutely.
We end up going to. We're going to meet about this. We need to discuss it. We need to get to the bottom of it. An hour later, after we spoke about our families, other ventures, other things, we'll go right. Why are we here?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that, I think that's another thing that I love about it, in the sense of it's personal, it's caring, it's not
absolutely.
Just black and white, this is what's going on. And I think that's how we draw people in.
Absolutely.
Just going back to a couple of things that I think it's probably good that we work both ways and have a little chat about this, is what would you say Dave Hughes is, and I don't always like this word, but flaws, weaknesses, things that could be improved. And again, I like this because it makes us vulnerable.
Yeah, totally. So I think, in just looking back over my entire journey, I think in my younger element of that journey, it was a sense of ego, I think, wanting to be the best, feeling the need to be better, wanting to prove myself, wanting to demonstrate what I thought I could do. And it was a bit, as a younger professional, I suppose looking back, it might have been more of a competition in my mind. I don't think that was the right way to approach the task in our vocation. I think ultimately, in the end, the race is only with yourself. So being the best version of myself, I think, was something I had to learn to work on. So rather than wanting to, in my early sort of years in our vocation, wanting to be a go-getter or go and achieve this or achieve that or knock down that door or climb over that obstacle, whatever it might be, what I've learned over the years, and perhaps mellowed a little bit, is that actually working on me was the biggest flaw that I probably had. Learning about who I was, understanding my own identity, my own values and principles, was a much bigger task than being solely centred on going after achievements or rewards or things that I thought, career-wise were important. I came to realise that developmentally, personally, honestly, those things were far more beneficial, and that any work we do in helping services is a process and not an event, and that really, whilst you can only be the best version of yourself, and whatever that looks like from one day to another might be different, that's what's important, that you approach the task, the work, with the right head, hands and heart, and you do that honestly. You do it with care and compassion, empathy for others. You do it responsibly, you do it professionally, and you are open to reflecting on that and hearing feedback and observations and thoughts that can continually help you do that better. I think other flaws that I've probably had in my journey is trying to be everything to everybody, and that's a real big one, because we all want to come into any role in any field of work to be the best we can for ourselves and others. And I think in my journey I've probably learned the hard way that that can be counterintuitive, and by trying to be everything to everybody and trying to do everything and provide everything and help everybody, actually you end up doing 10 things badly as opposed to 2 or 3 things really well. And perhaps it's my learning from that is about focusing on what are areas of competence and strength and learning and growth, and focusing on trying to do those consistently and continually well. In terms of things I think I'm good at, I don't know how I would answer that question, but I think things that I enjoy being with people. I enjoy listening to people, hearing their journeys, their views, their experiences, and being curious as to what reflection, what thinking, what help might be possible, what that might look like. That's something that really interests me. But that comes from a place of thoughtfulness in myself first, I guess, now, as opposed to sort of diving in feet first, as perhaps I would have done in years gone by. So, but I also think that, in journeys, the highs and the lows, I probably learned not to beat myself up too much about the lows, and not to get too carried away with the highs, because that isn't to say that we shouldn't celebrate the positives, and it isn't to say we shouldn't be accountable about the things that are less positive. But I think it's about a journey, it's about a process, it's about continually learning, it's about continually working on yourself and surrounding yourself with the right people who can help you continue to be the best of you. And I think that's what I'm really focused on working on. And I think I'm really honest about that, and I'm vulnerable about it. And it doesn't always feel great to say that, when you've tried to do too much and you've not done it well, or you've taken on too much, or you've worked too hard, and you've not had good boundaries around your own sort of energy and your own well-being and welfare. But I think those are important things to share, because I think in our vocation, burnout's a real thing. I think in our vocation, overworking can be a real thing. And I think sometimes it's about being able to be around people that can help you get those things in the right lens, so that the strengths and the attributes you've got can be put to best use consistently, and the areas that you can develop in can be put in the right lens and given the right framework for development, I think, is what I would say to that question.
So just through listening to your response there, which is powerful, number one, and it does make you vulnerable. And again, I will share mine as well. Something that really stands out to me from you answering that question on strengths and kind of weaknesses, or however you want to frame that word, it's like one of your greatest attributes can be one of your biggest downfalls as well, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because actually, the person that you are gives people security, gives people safety, gives people that environment where they can go about their day-to-day life and feel safe. Mm-hmm. But actually, when you're that person to too many people, when do you look after you and your boundaries and again, I've worked for you, and again, I know that from coming to have conversations with you. You will try and keep the peace, be kind, be thoughtful, and sometimes it's like, with some people in our industry, it's tricky. And
it's
depending on where you go on that. And again, but I think that's what draws me to you, if that makes sense, is that compassion, that kindness, that I'm not going to be mean to people.
No.
And it's that balance. It's so tricky to get that when you are a good person by nature, to get that balance of kind of, when do you turn around and put your foot down? I have it at times.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely have it at times. And again, I've had to spend so much time in self-reflection because things weren't going well, if that makes sense. And it was, it goes down, I don't know, just to plug, I've got a book out there.
Yeah, Jack is an author, so if anyone wants to buy the book, Growth Mindset Program, Jack Goodworth, get online, get on Amazon, go and buy it. Also ask Jack for a signed copy as well if you're going to buy it as well.
It's not on Amazon, mate, but thank you.
Is it not on Amazon? It should be on Amazon. Amazon, if you watch this podcast, get in touch with Jack.
Thank you, mate. But it's that kind of, you know, we trained your staff in it last week, kind of circles of control.
Yeah.
And it's, again, when you're a very caring person, you worry about things that you can't control. And other people's behaviour and actions, we often spend a lot of time overthinking and analysing, and realistically they're going to do what they're going to do. And it's so tricky. And I find this is, again, we're very relatable in a lot of areas, aren't we, in a sense. And again, I think the one strength that you've got that I struggle with more than you is you've got fantastic empathy to both adults and children. My empathy is amazing for children, less for adults. Yeah, not like I'd still.
Present company accepted, of course.
Yeah, of course. But I just say, but like I say, but what I'm saying is where you, like I talked about scenarios in the past, you've managed them a lot better than what I would have in the scenarios that we've been in, because for me, and you know, I can't bite my tongue at certain points. Like, if something needs to be said, there's a good chance Jack's going to say it. But again,
a very good chance.
Yeah. But it's that thing again. Surrounding myself with you brings me to a point where we've had conversations before, and I've gone, Dave, will you deal with that, please? Or you know, there's been times where it's been like someone needs to be assertive, or someone needs to literally just go, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
And although you do it, I go and do it because that's the way the kind of partnership works, in a sense. And
absolutely.
I think from my perspective, I always used to say this when I was managing children's homes, I found myself being a very, very good leader, but a very average manager, in the sense of the paperwork, the kind of, like, I'm a people person. I want to be with the people. Absolutely. I want to be with the children. So I'd have to employ deputies that
to do that.
Yeah, because again, you know what Ofsted's expectations are and stuff like that. So again, when I set up my own businesses, I had to do a massive set of reflection on strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
What am I very good at, and what actually don't I like? Because I might be okay at them, but I don't like them. So how can I make my life simpler and enjoy life more? It's by doing a lot of them things that you don't enjoy, getting rid of them.
Absolutely. I heard a quote recently, and someone said that, you know, the magic that you're not experiencing is in the work that you're avoiding. And it was really interesting because, you know, I think one of the things in my reflection is I'm comfortable with kindness. I'm comfortable with listening to where people are at. One of the things that, you know, I admire about you, Jack, and then that I see as something that you are much more developed in than I am, is having those tough conversations early and openly, not in an unkind way, in a kind way, in an empathetic way, but being able to communicate, you know, very clearly, very early on.
How clearly, Dave?
No, I'd say very clearly. I'm saying very, very clearly.
No, I know what you mean.
But you know, to really get to the crux of the matter, and I admire that about you, because I think in any walk of life, sometimes there are for all the values and the principles that we talked about, there are needs for you know, early conversations, difficult conversations, challenging conversations, and I really appreciate and admire the way you ask thoughtful questions, the way you make considered statements to any people we might find ourselves engaging with, that still has that sense of comfortability for people. It's clear, it's concise, it's direct, it's early, it's meaningful, it's purposeful, but actually also allows people to hear that in a way that they can engage with it. And sometimes one of the things that I'm working on about myself, or trying to work on, is sort of developing that skill. My approach is probably a bit more sort of not thoughtful, but it takes a little bit longer to get to that point in some cases. And I think the good thing about us as a partnership is our attributes support each other. So whether there are things that you're really good at that I admire in you and think, oh, I could learn that from Jack, it might take a little bit of time for me to get there, but I know that you can provide that while I'm on that journey of development, and hopefully in some cases the opposite is true.
I think it's really funny, isn't it? Because all the work that's come to Pinnacle so far, and again, it's nice because before we've even gone to market as such, people are coming to us, and a lot of that's reputation based. You know, we've both had training companies for a period of time, and again, there's a lot that you've provided from kind of a consultation perspective. Management, leadership, again, there are the courses that we're developing at the moment, because again, I think between us there's so much value to be added on that, and again, making them personal then to the services that we're working with. But it's that it's that balance, Dave, and you're absolutely spot on with it, because there are times when I do sit there and I go, Jack, why have you opened your mouth again? But it's taken many years to kind of at least manoeuvre it so it comes across. It
does.
But I think it's that when you've got a kind heart, and when you're integral, and when you're authentic, it allows you to be able to speak in a way that's less offensive.
Absolutely. Because
people, you're not saying it to be mean. You're not saying it because you've got an alternate agenda. It's literally like, this is how I feel. And again, like I say, there's things that we've just spoke about there that I know you work on, I know what I work on, and the self-reflection course that we've got, and it just promotes all that thinking, and none of us are perfect.
No.
You know, and it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to speak about it. And I think this is one thing, Dave, that I like about what we're doing at Pinnacle, is we're going to allow other people, when we train, and we're this open and honest, because this is not just in a podcast, this is how we speak every day. It allows other people to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one thing that we both massively enjoy, is being able for people to be comfortable and bring their whole self to a conversation, and that means a lot to me in the sense of core values from my other businesses to this business. We're aligned on that, and it's not I'm trying to pull you in or you're trying to pull me in. It's massively aligned. So just looking forward, what does life in 10 years look like for Dave Hughes?
Wow, 10 years. I don't know if I look 10 years in advance actually at the moment, but I think for me, one of the most important things for my future, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is to keep working on myself, to try and be a person who is kind and respectful and thoughtful and decent to other human beings, and through my time with them gives them some kind of sense of that being positive and healthy, I think. I'm hopeful that for my family and friends and people that we're connected with, that people have that sense of health, have that sense of prosperity. And you talked about security, and I think that's really important. I think in our vocation, in our task, two of the most important things are safety and containment. If people feel safe and they are contained, then they can be in that part of their thinking and reflection where they can learn and they can develop and they can be curious and be reflective, and that's the space we want to be in. I think that's a space I would like to help myself be in more often than not. and support people around me to be in that space. And I think, my aspiration for our business is that Pinnacle Centre of Excellence becomes a learning, training provider of choice, that we work with various organisations on a national basis, whether it's public sector, private sector, third sector. We grow our expertise and our attributes and our group, and we continue to make a positive difference in the lives of children and young people. I think if in 10 years' time we can look back and say those things, that our friends and families' lives are in a better place because of our contribution, that people's experience has been enhanced because of our contribution, the lives of children and young people have been enabled and safely promoted because of our contribution, I think I'll be really proud of that, and I think that's somewhere we would like to be. And 10 years down the line, I also hope that from an excitable point of view, that all of our services are growing and developing. I'm sure there'll be different opportunities that arise that we are probably thinking about at the moment, and some that we aren't thinking about, and those will take us on different journeys, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also, without wishing it away, looking forward to getting to that point 10 years in the future where we can look back and we can enjoy that journey from a reflective point of view, because sometimes you can't connect the dots looking forward. Sometimes you have to sort of take a bit of a leap of faith, sometimes you have to believe in something, sometimes you have to trust in somebody and some people, and hope that it all works out. And sometimes it's that reflection in future, looking back as to that how interesting and exciting that was. But I'm here for it, and this is a great opportunity to share with people the starting point of our journey, and I'm sure that over the weeks, months and years that these conversations will be much more positive and much more exciting and much more fruitful for people to sort of engage with and participate in.
So just looking at that answer, and again, it comes to this thing where we're both very aligned in when you talk about others. What does life look like? So I ask you, what does life look like in 10 years for Dave Hughes? Your first thought process is family, friends, others, colleagues. Yeah, like that's where we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Because actually, when this question's asked to people, they turn around and go, I want to be on a beach, I want to be retired. Dave, that scares the life out of me. Like, I cannot switch off. I go to bed, I have time with my beautiful little girl. But on the whole, I didn't touch upon it earlier, but I spoke quite openly about my weaknesses, but then strengths, it's that relentless mindset. Like, the self-belief is, and it comes through self-reflection. It comes through that being happy with who you are, being true to who you are, and that, again, it's my first ever podcast today. It's, I know you've done one in the past, but it's new to us, but again, it feels natural. And again, I think it comes from that authenticity, it comes from being genuine. And for me, looking 10 years ahead, I look at us having the biggest service for being the biggest centre of excellence in the UK. And that's not from a financial perspective.
No.
That is because we can change so many lives. Mm-hmm. And I think that when we're looking at our family, I put something earlier on LinkedIn actually about drivers. And again, obviously Nevaeh, 7, but just having a 7-year-old that is reliant on you, I think for me that's the driver. So really, when you're looking at 10 years down the line, hopefully your driver's still the same. And if it's not the same driver because she's off at uni or doing something elsewhere, it's for me it's about not being financially motivated.
Yeah.
I think your family, I know where they stand in your thinking. And again, what we do, and I say it often, we need money to survive, we need money to live in a certain way. However, if that's your sole focus on massively thinking children's services, you're in the wrong industry.
Absolutely.
If that is your driver, I think my advice would be, please move, please leave.
Absolutely, I'd agree. It's a vocation. It's not a job. It's a way of life. It's a commitment to the betterment of others and the betterment of yourself through, like you say, reflection and continual learning. And I think we've got to be really responsible with helping services. That helping services are predicated on the need that we're helping and the reason for providing that. It shouldn't be the other way around, like you say. It shouldn't be a case of let's open a business because we believe that we can hit these financial projections by helping people.
Yeah.
It's the wrong way around. And I think if people come with those values, very quickly those values become apparent.
Yeah.
And I think that authenticity, that honesty, that ownership and that continual learning becomes an issue. And I don't think if it is purported to be there in the first place, I don't think it would consistently be evident. And going back to that relationship thing, I don't think that you build trusting, long-term, valued, sustainable relationships by taking that approach.
No, it's absolutely, and we've probably worked for or with companies as we've gone on our journey over the last 18 years. I was going to say 20 then, but I'm pushing it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we've all seen them companies, and again, probably not had the understanding that we have now to just go in every day, do your job, do well for the children, and not actually see the surrounding bigger picture. And like I say, I think as long as our drivers remain that kind of family ethos that we've got, and again, even at Christmas, we're making sure we both had time off. We both had time off, because again, a healthy Dave creates a healthy Pinnacle.
100%.
And the same with me and kind of looking after ourselves. I think we're going to have to wrap up for today. However, I think we've still got one more hour left on this, Dave, between me and you on where we're going with this.
Definitely.
Everyone's listening going, I hope not.
We've had enough already. They might have turned off by now. They might have gone, mate. Just me and you talking to each other.
That's
watching.
True. That's true.
But sorry, just to jump in,
please.
one of the things that you mentioned a moment ago about when you were leading homes for children and you being a people person, I was thinking to myself, you lead people and you manage things, don't you?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that one of the things that I think is a real attribute for you is that you are a people person, and not only are you good at leading people, you're good at enabling people to feel safe around you and feel contained around you and feel supported by you. I think that's a really important attribute, and and working in helping services is tricky. There are lots of challenges, and I think it's like you just picked up on that real importance of having balance, of having time, because I think in helping services, whatever we're doing, it's complex, there are layers to it, it sometimes is unpredictable, and I think it's really important that we take care of ourselves and each other, and we encourage that, because like you said, if you're the healthiest version of you, you can achieve the best for others.
Absolutely.
You can bring the best version of you to your organisation, to your business, to your employment, to your task, whatever it might be. And I think one of the real key things about what we're doing at Pinnacle is we recognise that, and that's a message that we share on a regular basis, and we're really consistent in talking about with each other, because we appreciate our drivers, our commitments, our obligations to our families, to our friends, to our partners, but to each other and individually. And I think that's something that I think has been a bit of a theme of today's conversation, which has been really enjoyable and really interesting.
No, again, we agree on all of this stuff. We will have our differences along the way, of course.
Sure,
but
no
with
doubt.
this stuff, it's black and white for us both from a values perspective.
Sure.
Again, I just want to say thank you. I know this has been a joint podcast as such, but I think your honesty, your integrity, who you are as a person will relate with a lot of people. And moving forward, we're going to have very similar people in a sense from a mindset perspective sitting alongside us, because again we're going to have our partners in here who are going to jump on our podcast, and we're also looking for other leaders or staff, colleagues within our industry that would like to come on and to kind of express their views and opinions, and because that's how growth happens.
Of course it is. It absolutely is. And I think when we think about, you know, learning and development and working on ourselves and those real commitments and those needs, that also happens through spending time with other people.
Yeah. Because
when you spend time with other people who are really passionate, who are knowledgeable, who are invested, and you listen to the language they use and how they express themselves and hold themselves and the observations they make, I think there's something that we take away from that, which I think we kind of go, I recognise something in them today that I don't know if I do, or that seems to work really well for them. It might not work well for everybody, but maybe we'll try it, because until you try it, you don't know. So having those voices and those personalities and those experiences on the podcast, up close and personal, answering questions, being vulnerable, I think that's really, really positive, and it's going to be really exciting, and hopefully from those conversations and from these podcasts, people will take something away, not just about Pinnacle Centre of Excellence and our business and what we do, but about who we are, and if there's some learning for people that comes from that, or some benefit or some use of some description, then I think that's a great thing.
No, you're completely right, Dave, and let's hope that over the next 12, 18 months while we're running this podcast, it builds and builds and builds, and it helps as many, not just people in our service, but just as a whole, people that want to improve and want to self-reflect and want to kind of look at their journey.
Absolutely.
And come on our journey as well. I think it would be really, really powerful. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate your time as well. It's been really great conversation. Always great to chat. Always great to think together. So really appreciate you taking the lead and asking the questions.
No worries. I'll see you in 10 minutes at the coffee shop.
Look forward to it, mate. Oh boy.
Top man. Cheers, Dave.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks.